Cody, welcome to People Who Plan. Welcome to the pod. So we just dive right in here. You started out early in your career, you were managing a burrito restaurant.
You're going way back, Michael.
We're going way back. How do you go from there to running supply chains for nationally distributed brands to being SVP of Ops and portfolio support at this big growth equity group?
Didn't ever think it would happen, Michael. Just be totally blunt with you guys. Awesome burrito restaurant. Started in Boulder. Legal Pete's. Check it out if you're ever in town. But yeah, a lot of late nights, closing shop at 2 a.m. for drunk college kids and just trying to make money to have fun while at university. I always love food.
Yeah.
And getting out of university, just slowly found my way into operations. Love seeing how things get made and how much work goes into buying something on the shelf. It's pretty fascinating. Something that the majority of the population can't appreciate. Like you go to the store, you buy your stuff, but the amount of time and money and energy and resources that go into getting it there quickly caught for me, and it's taken ever since.
Awesome. You've seen brands in all different phases of their life cycle. How do you define life cycle phases for brands? What are the stages that they go through?
I usually break it up into a couple of things. So we do a ton of work all along the chain. Pre-revenue, we brought a lot of brands to market, and that's a very unique stage, just in the sense where you don't know what it's going to be yet. Aspirations are always really high. So trying to set up that initial foundation, the processes, how you're going to plan to do that. You have no data. So that for me is phase one, that 0 or $1 to $10 million revenue range. It's next where it's okay, we're in market, we have something. And at that point, it's really important, just like putting the right partners in place and being really flexible. I think in a lot of ways, it's harder than pre-revenue because
Hmm.
everything's changing. You're trying to get new retailers, you want to launch new innovation. There's so much excitement there. Once you get past the 10 to $20 million range, that's when real rigor needs to come into place. It's time to start growing up a little bit. You got to be strategic. The mistakes you make, they're not little mistakes anymore. All of a sudden, they're $100,000 mistakes, $1 million mistakes. So it really ramps up, but it definitely requires a different mindset and thinking through each
Mhm.
of the stages of the business.
So different things you got to get right at each stage.
Yeah. I think understanding too what the risks are at each of those stages is just so important.
Yeah, it's funny you said the 1 to 10 is almost harder. There's like a great filter or something. Like, hey, we've figured out something, people kind of like it, but can you make it through? Because I imagine there's so many like ways in which you could mess like that moment of like, oh, we got a new partner, like they want to launch tomorrow. I've heard that story a bunch of times from brands.
Absolutely. I'm an operator, right? So I always play on the more conservative, like what can we actually do? What can we actually plan for? That stage where you're in market, pre your maturity level there, where we just want it now, we want it tomorrow, go, 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 go. I think that's probably the most challenging time to be an operator because you're in inputting a lot of the systems and building them while the plane's like taking off. So it challenges a lot of the things that make sense rationally, and you're in this kind of like awkward teenage phase of trying to get it right.
I'm curious, Cody, how do you come alongside these companies? How do you support them? The knowledge that you've gained, obviously you've recognized patterns and things like that, but how does that look like on an operational level?
The quick rundown on Siddhi Capital is we are growth equity investor, a classic investor in that sense, but our value prop and what makes us different is we have a full operating firm attached to the growth equity business. Couple things there and why I think it's pretty brilliant. I was shocked when I came into this space and being in the investment world, how many people write checks without really understanding these businesses. They may understand or see the sales or the growth, but how important it is to have the right agreements in place, the right co-manufacturers, the right processes. Those things determine success no matter the size of the business. So we're positioned and have a unique sense where we have a full team. I got 10 people on my team, amazing operators, VPs, directors that have come out of all kinds of fast growing brands and a ton of different consumer segments. And we plug into our portfolio companies, Jeremy. We plug into brands that are not in our portfolio that we just have interest in or that need the ops help. And we do that with brands that are pre-revenue all the way up to brands that are doing $200, $300 million a year in revenue. And on the early side, a lot of that's blocking and tackling day-to-day ops, helping them find things, run the show as businesses grow and scale and have their own teams. Bring in the experts, get there faster, maybe help them with a manufacturing or something they don't have expertise with internally.
What a wonderful concept. And I'm begging for an example now. Give me an example. What does it look like?
I can't say any companies specifically, just to keep everyone anonymous, but we have done on the manufacturing side, we work with some products that are really hard to make and that haven't been able to be made at a commercially viable scale. Think automation, think SQF plants, all the things that like big time stuff. So we've built a number of product lines and actually put together manufacturing lines to make things that haven't been able to be made before. Another example, Jeremy, we work with a lot of brands that make products overseas. So setting up programs to make sure they can get their products here on time, avoiding tariffs, all different kinds of things like that. But our value prop is meeting you where you are. Everyone's in a different spot, has different challenges, has different teams. So we identify that and then roll up our sleeves and help them. They just want help. They want to make their lives easier. They want to get success. So identifying those issues and then put your hard hat on and get to work and let's make it happen.
I imagine what the 200 or $300 million company needs is probably different than what the pre-revenue, like just a different phase of the business.
Michael, you'd be so proud. We're doing S&OP work on a really big brand right now.
Nice.
And putting those things in place. And it's amazing. This business had crazy success with Walmart, just took off and just never really got the right things in place from a planning perspective. And now we're going back and putting that infrastructure. So that's an example of a big brand where it's like,
Yeah.
got to get those processes and planning in place to be successful.
Well, yeah, totally. When you talk about a pre-revenue brand, optimization is not what we're here for, right? When you're at that stage, it's like just existing is the goal.
Yeah.
Hey, if I can make a 15% improvement, isn't that amazing? Not if you're multiplying that by 0, right? That doesn't matter. All that matters is if I can get from 0 to 1. We've seen this progression of until you've made some investments in data and ERP. Once you've got 50 million of inventory on the books, all right, now there's something worth optimizing in a very real way. But if it's 100,000, not as much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cody mentioned it. He brought up the word planning, Michael. So this is the red meat.
This is why we're here.
Let's talk about planning. What are the common mistakes folks make when it comes to planning? Maybe there's certain inflection points where planning becomes more critical when they have to make these choices. What are the patterns you've seen there in regards to planning?
I think I've been talking a lot about S&OP lately, so I'm going to take it there because I think that's
Do it.
so important. I've run into so many businesses where they want their S&OP process to be this perfect thing that you should get all the answers. And if we do the meeting this way, then we're going to be perfect. And that just doesn't exist, period, in my opinion. I think the largest consumer businesses in the world miss on that. But I think what is important is getting alignment cross-functionally and understanding what could go wrong, what might go wrong, and if we nail it, what's going to happen. And I think people get too caught up in trying to be perfect, having the most perfect data. And really, it's just like, you got to make assumptions. No forecast is perfect. And we need to plan and understand the ramifications based on that for the business. So I think that would be my number one thing, Jeremy, is just like when it comes to planning is like having those hard conversations. But as a business, everyone getting real about like where we're at and what we need to do according to that.
Yeah, I hear that. We talked to some companies on this podcast where they didn't have S&OP meetings. They hadn't even done that before. Totally fine. Like it depends on what state,
Yeah.
right?
It's like any operational like process or value stream. You look at maybe what you imagine excellence looks like, and you want to go from nothing to excellence. But the reality is, any system that works starts as a very simple system that works. And so accepting, hey, I'll go from level 1 maturity to level 2 maturity to level 3 maturity. And if I can practice continuous improvement, that's the beauty of S&OP, which is it's either weekly or monthly. And so if you have a built-in improvement mechanism in it, you'd like to start good, but you can start wherever you start and then just you can get better.
Yeah, I think too, like with planning, so much of it comes down to capital and capital allocation as well. It's sales and operations planning, but it's really working capital planning too, especially in a consumer business that's building inventory. It just ties so many things together. Amazing platforms like Atomic and others, right? It plays such a vital role in where the business is headed. And especially in this environment, to put my investor hat on, like it's not 5, 10 years ago where brands were just getting checks, right? In order to even get your next check, you need to be profitable, break even, or on your way to it and be able to show that. So it's more important now than ever. You got to run a really good business, no matter the size of your business. You could be $1 million a year brand. You can't be burning cash. So planning is just so freaking important right now. And if you get it right, you're going to be in a great spot. And if you don't, it's a tough spot to be in, and you got to make some serious changes.
It was one of my favorite clients that we brought on at Atomic and worked with at Atomic, where this was like 2 or 3 years ago now. They weren't a massive brand. They've 2 or 3x since we started working with them, so they are pretty big now. But they said, "Hey, we think we've run the business where we've never wanted to be out of stock. We've been successful, but now we're getting to a place where the dollar value of inventory is pretty meaningful, and it makes sense to do this." And we came in and we rolled up our sleeves and found some really interesting levers that they weren't able to pull just being in spreadsheets. Cut their inventory in half in 4 months. And it was
That's
like,
huge.
yeah. And they were like, we actually changed our plan for fundraising for this year because we didn't need to anymore.
That's such a good example, Michael. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Your runway can change by 6 months, a year, if you get it tightened up.
Totally. But again, depending on the stage, that's where like your first investment is just like a planner or support from folks like you or your team, right? But then it's every week of working capital is worth millions and millions of dollars. Now it's let's go get it.
Yeah, 100%.
Knowing the city portfolio, obviously it's food and bev, and there's different types of companies in terms of the way that the product comes together. What are some of the nuances of how the product itself impacts the operations that you've lived through?
I think direct product characteristics change a lot. Like we work with brands that are refrigerated, short shelf life. Obviously, just a different level of diligence in terms of how you need to manage that business. You're producing product every day or every week versus your classic shelf stable product that has 12 months where you're running on a quarterly basis or bi-monthly. So that changes a lot. Obviously, a lot of cost too. Businesses that require refrigeration or things like that are just more capital intensive and need to be really looked after in that way. I'd say probably the biggest thing that comes to mind though, Michael, is if you make a product, let's use sparkling water, for example, there's a lot of manufacturing out there for that product. There's a lot of different levels of manufacturers, folks that have small MOQs where it can just run a little bit, all the way up to co-mans that can make Coke, Pepsi, right? As much as you want. So in a lot of ways, those products and those brands, there's a lot of flexibility for growth. You can just plug in whatever you need at that moment and run your business. I think that changes a lot when you run a product where maybe there's only two co-mans that make that product, or you need a special line that requires 100,000 cases for you to get on it. Those products are just more challenging, and you got to just really get creative there. That's when you start looking at building your own plan or certain negotiations. But anytime you're doing something really unique from like a form factor or process standpoint, it makes the planning challenging. It just, you can't do whatever you want. And it's getting teams and founders and boards to understand that that's the landscape that you're operating within.
That's funny. You even see that in the grocery store where all of a sudden a product gets super popular and it's just because it's specialized kind of manufacturing, there's not unlimited capacity. There was a time where anytime there was good culture at the grocery store, my wife was like, just get as many as you can and bring it home.
Michael, it's funny you bring up good culture. We're good friends with that team and I've spent some time with them. And that's such a unique story because cottage cheese is a product that our moms probably and dads ate when they were kids. And it's had this like revolution, and the infrastructure for that product No one was building plants for cottage cheese for the last 40 years because who the heck wanted to buy cottage cheese? Now it's the number one product in the grocery store. And like literally, there is no more cottage cheese capacity. So they're figuring it out. Good Culture is an amazing brand. Huge congrats to them on the exit, but they've had to figure that stuff out on the fly and did a great job with that. But it's an amazing example of even when it does exist, things blow up. There's no capacity, period. Like
Right.
there's nothing you can do about it. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how popular your brand are, you're stuck in this no man's land for a little bit. And our family did the same thing. About 4 things of Good Culture every time we went to Whole Foods.
Right. If it's there, just get it. Oh, they only have the 2% in the big tub. Doesn't matter. Just get it. Okay.
I totally missed this one, guys. Like I'm not on the cottage cheese bandwagon here. This one's totally over my head. Now I got to go check it out. It is something that my parents eat. I know that my parents are actually visiting right now. They're here in the house and they're visiting and it's so cool. But yeah, they would go and get some cottage cheese, bring it back, and I'd be like, that's the grossest stuff.
You got to just get Good Culture, though. That's the thing. That's why me and
Okay.
Mike have gotten strict orders. Like, it's not cottage cheese, it's the Good Culture cottage cheese. It's
Yeah.
different.
Fair.
Cody, it wouldn't be a podcast in 26 if we didn't ask you about AI. So tell us about AI for operations and what you're seeing, how much of it you're seeing, where is it actually adding value for your portfolio?
I'm so impressed. It's amazing. So much of the time classically trained operators have spent has been like just trying to get the data organized to be able to get the information they need to make decisions. Like I'd almost say it's 80-20. Even our team, we spend 80% of the time like just trying to get organized enough to then know what we need to do. So just from the output and being a better operator, these systems and what people are creating, like it just gives you the information you need to make the right decision or have the right conversation. So planning, freight analysis, you name it, there's new tools that are just creating efficiencies. And I think ultimately too, just saving brands a ton of money. That's where I see the biggest value to brands investing in. And then as operators, you got to get on it like ASAP.
It's really interesting from where your team is positioned as Siddhi, and you have this like critical mass of both team, but also expertise on that team. I'm sure you're having this conversation, like how do you deploy all of these playbooks for your portfolio companies?
Michael, I'm curious to you and Jeremy, what do you guys, what is it, 5 years from now, whatever, like where is AI with like ops and stuff?
Cody, I guess this is our podcast.
I know, but you guys know better than me. I'm so curious.
The question more so is how much of robotics will be solved at that point? Because I think the information side is obviously, we don't really think in 5-year time horizons at this point because it's like unbelievable, even the last 3 months. When we're working with brands, we will have folks Slack us and ask us to change a feature and we'll be shipping it within the hour. It's just the velocity is unbelievable. But even for our operations as a team, we've got 15 team members now at Atomic and growing fast. We're embracing it for the work that we do. Now with Claude, like we can connect all of our different systems, we can read, write documents, and we can create standard work like SOPs that are executable as code that Claude can do. So when Jeremy's going to go edit this podcast, he's going to look at the transcript and Claude is going to follow a certain set of instructions of how to clean it up and what were the interesting moments and what clips should we extract to serve up. He's not going to watch it. He's not going to read it. It's just going to serve it up for him based on the cookbook that he's created.
Yeah.
Wild.
And just this morning, Cody, I hope it's okay with you. I used your LinkedIn profile picture to create the thumbnail with Claude for this episode. Right. So
use it up, man. I love it.
Increasingly, then we're seeing like also within the Atomic product, folks are able to talk to Atomic and talk to their data in Atomic in a way that 6 months ago or 12 months ago, everyone threw a Copilot in their SaaS product and they all pretty much sucked.
Yeah.
It doesn't suck anymore. It's like pretty sweet.
The one thing from our side that really hits on your comment, Cody, about 80-20, a lot of what we're seeing is our clients using our Nucleus AI assistant really to understand their own data, right? And to get their own information. is the 80% to put things together to make those decisions.
The thing that I like about AI is that if you're writing a prompt or a question, even if it's just chat GPT, for example, in order to get something good out of it, you have to be clear about what you want. How do you really need this? It needs to be communicated in a way where it's clear what the output is. So I think as an operator, it's actually good versus people being like, oh, it's just going to do everyone's work for them. No, you have to be really thoughtful about how you work with it, what you want, what your end goal is. If you're clear, like I want this analysis laid out this way, like then it does it. So you still need the answers to the test because you need to know where you're going ultimately, which I like about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not omniscient in any way. It is good at following instructions. And so where you have visual management is all about like making the work seeable for the team, and the value stream mapping of actually seeing the flow of work or creating standards. It's all about making the implicit, like tribal knowledge, into something very explicit that now we can improve it because we can see it. And AI is the same way. It works in language, it works in code. And so you got to figure out, how do I take my operations, which are this implicit knowledge that people just do stuff, and actually make it very explicit in order to make it automatable. And that translation, you have a moment of, before we go and automate this process, maybe we should take a second and determine if it's actually a good process, right? And like,
Exactly.
okay, let's a totally janky implicit thing to something that's formalized and quite good, to now we can automate it. And the amazing thing is now it's super fast to do that. It's super easy to do that, and not losing the discipline of that middle step of making it good before you automate it.
Well said.
I don't know if you have a hard cut, Cody, but maybe we could squeeze in one more question.
Do you have another one? Let's do it.
We have a couple fun questions. We like to
All
end
right.
on fun questions. Okay, so first fun question, because for in food, what's the best meal that you've had in the last couple of weeks?
There's this Italian restaurant in Denver called Quality Italian. Kind of bougie, but they do a chicken parm pizza, where they bring out like a huge pizza, but it's just chicken parm. Unbelievable. Like it sounds gross and like way overkill, which it is overkill, but it was like phenomenal. It was amazing. So that would be my answer.
Yeah, does it have like a crust, or is the crust chicken?
Yeah, the whole like bread dough component is the chicken.
Whoa.
It's really thin though. It's well done,
Yeah.
but you need like, I mean, the three of us might not be able to take it down.
Wow.
Maybe.
Wow.
Sounds
You don't
good.
know about me, Cody, but yeah, I got you.
But we probably could. The three of us could definitely take it down.
There you
Going-
go. There
Yeah,
you
we
go.
got it. We got it.
All right, all right. I'm gonna ask a food question too. Michael asked about started this off with burritos. I'm a huge burrito fan. What's your favorite burrito? Is it from a particular place? You make it at home or whatever? Is it the breakfast burrito?
Dude, we're on the same page. Like burritos, my thing. So I lived in San Francisco for 8 years. There's a huge debate in San Francisco about what the best Mission burrito is. Mine is La Taqueria. Hands down, I think they make the best burritos and tacos. Simple, it's good, just like classic, fresh guac, amazing meat. Nothing fancy about it,
Uh-huh.
but everything about it is just perfect. Tortilla's perfect. So that would definitely be like my number one. And I miss it. Now I live in Colorado. It's like I go twice a year and it's just not the same here. Everything has green chili on it here. I'm like, I don't want green chili smothered on my burrito. I want a Mission style burrito from San Francisco. That's what I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna ask your question, which is, Cody, would you say you're a planner?
I'm definitely a planner. My wife might say I'm not a planner, but at work, I'm a planner.
At work, you're a planner. Awesome. Well, Cody, thanks so much for coming on here and talking to us about food and operations and all the things you do. It's super cool.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.